KCAA, your local connection for news, traffic, weather, and sports. AM 1050, KCAA.
In 2011, Fred Walden was asked to host Morning Brew. That request came from the left.
Did I not say I was totally anti-Vietnam? And did I not say I would never have fought in Vietnam?
Several years earlier, the right had asked JBK to voice their concerns.
The press in this country, who's in the tank for Barry Obama and the rest of the left wing, fail to inform and educate viewers and listeners to. And it's very frustrating.
Can these two broadcasting legends share the airwaves, debate intelligently about sports and politics, and enjoy a cup of Joe without driving each other crazy?
Did he take a pay cut, Governor Walker?
I have no idea.
Okay,
that's not the issue, Fred.
No, it is. No, it is.
It has got nothing to do with it.
He takes a pay
nice
cut.
try.
Nice try.
We're about to find out because Morning Brew is now on.
And what a week in the world of sports and what a week in the world of politics it has been. And we're going to talk about it for the next hour right here on the Morning Brew. It's very simple. 1-888-909-1050, 1-888-909-1050. This toll free, and producer Nick will get you on. You can also email us your thoughts or ideas at sportsfred@AOL.com, sportsfred@AOL.com. A little later this hour, we're going to talk to Neil McCabe. Very interesting new book. Big show. Bunch of pictures that most of us in the world of sports never have seen before. He did this book 18 years ago. Now there's a slew of new pictures, new photos, and his sister Constance and Neil put together the blurbs underneath the pictures, and we're going to talk about that with Neil in about 20-25 minutes. But meanwhile, JBK, I don't know where to start, but let's just start right here in Southern California. The good news is Frank's about out. I don't know who's going to be in.
Well, just like I said, Fred, how are you this morning, by the way? I feel like even though the name of the show is called Morning Brew, when we start talking about the Dodgers week after week, I feel like we're morning yentas here, talking about divorces and bankruptcies and cash-strapped situations. But, hey, you got what you wanted. And, when we were talking about this in September, I said you're going to have a resolution by the time the season ends. And you do have a resolution. The team hasn't been sold, but there's obviously an agreement between Major League Baseball and big dummy over there, Frank McCourt, that it's time for him to let go of this team. So you're going to get it. Some of the bidders are interesting names out there. I saw Peter O'Malley as one of the potential folks who may want to put another group together to get the Dodgers. So it's a good day for the Dodgers. It really is.
Well, I think Peter O'Malley would be the perfect owner. Mark Cuban, if he wants to come in, I think would be a good owner too. But I think Peter would bring class back to the organization. And I think actually, and people haven't even thought about this, my gut feeling is if Peter O'Malley got control of the Dodgers, guess what? Spring training would be back in Vero Beach within 2 years. Because that's where the Dodgers belong, in Vero Beach, even though it costs you a lot more to fly back and forth. We know that, and whatever the case might be, 3,000 miles versus 500 miles to Phoenix, 400 miles to Phoenix. But I think the Dodgers belong in Vero Beach. I believe Peter O'Malley believes that. And let's bet that if he gets this team, and you heard it first right here, spring training will go back to Vero Beach. They'll rebuy the land. I think Baltimore now owns part of it, whatever the case might be. They'll give it back to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are back where Duke Snider and Jackie Robinson and the rest of them trained, because the Dodgers have been a tradition. There was a Dodger way to play baseball. McCourt and the Fox people sort of destroyed that for 13 bad years. And maybe, and if you're a big fan, and maybe good things will happen, and maybe Peter O'Malley will take back the club. And if you have any thoughts about that, one way or the other, we'd love to hear from you today right here on the Morning Brew. You can also email us, sportsfred@AOL.com. JBK, the best news that came out of this, and I feel much better now, I'll tell you why. The judge ruled that Jamie McCourt can keep the 4 houses here in Southern California, and Frank gets the 2 back in Massachusetts. See, I thought they still had 7. I know they had 8 a couple years ago, and then one judge made them sell one. I didn't know somebody made them sell the other one. So I feel much better about this, because all they made out of this were 6 homes instead of 7. So Fred feels much better when he discovered that.
Well, Fred, I thought you got the 7th house. Wasn't that you?
No, I would have known if they'd given it in my direction.
Hey, listen. You know what, though? What drove this agreement was something that we knew was going to happen, which was the fact that there was a settlement in the divorce. He's got to sell the Dodgers so he can pay off Jamie, which I think the $132 million payout for her is due, what, in April?
Yep, April.
So there you go. And so both, one had to do the other. And 2 weeks ago when Mr. C filled in for me, he made a great point. How could you settle the divorce case and have the Dodgers situation still up in the air? Because one clearly impacted the other. And he was dead on. I mean, he was obviously foreshadowing what happened this week, meaning that because of the divorce settlement, it was tied into this guy obviously settling or selling the Dodgers. And there was probably about a week or two of negotiations with MLB as to how the sale is going to go down. You should feel comforted, as well as all Dodger fans should feel comforted in the fact that it's going to be done under the auspices of the bankruptcy court. So you're going to get not just the highest bidder, but you're going to get the highest bidder, plus who's got the ability to take this asset to the next level and continue or rebuild it and so on and so forth. So it's all good. And, hey, the divorce of the McCourts plowed the road for this, but it's good to have your team back, or soon enough.
All right, in 2004, the McCourts, under the Bud Selig allowed them to buy the team for a mere $421 million from the Fox people, and of course they didn't have the money to buy it, so they had to borrow from Fox. You know the story. To buy the team for, I'm going to repeat that number, $421 million. All right, the Cubs were sold last year, I think, for $680 million. So the Dodgers are going to sell for, I'm guessing, $1.1 billion, or maybe $1 billion.
1.1, 1.5.
Okay, so that means okay, but that means and anybody who knows me, when I'm the world's worst businessman, McCourt might be the world's best businessman, and I'll tell you why. He bought it for $421 million. He destroyed the franchise. After everything is paid off, if he can get, as you said, $1.2 million or $1.1 million, he's going to come out of here with a couple $100 million. I mean, I got to tell you, for a man who did everything wrong, it proves again he's a much better businessman than most of us, because most of us can't do a bad job for 7 years and come out ahead. How do you do that?
Well, listen, I mean, he bought an asset the team appreciated during the time.
Sure did.
So, hey, listen, the bottom line is that when he sells the team through the bankruptcy, what's going to happen is you're going to be looking for maximum value for the debtor's estate.
Right.
And so what you're going to do is you're going to scrutinize every potential group that comes across, the O'Malleys or the Ron Burkles, who's the co-owner of the Penguins. I know that name has been mentioned out there. You just said Mark Cuban. I think I heard that as well. So you're going to be looking for proper marketing and maximize value. And to the extent that Frank McCourt may make a couple bucks out of this, hey, you know what? You just want your team back. If he walks out of this with a couple $100 million profit, who cares? As long as he's out, as long as he's not around pilfering from the team, looting from the team is the term which we used last week, then you got your team back and they contend for a pennant. Goodbye, Frank. Go back to Massachusetts. Don't ever come back here again.
And Jamie's halfway home. And folks, if you don't know this, a few years ago, she was asked how much, she's about 55 years of age, she was asked how much money she would need to feel secure for the rest of her life. Most of it would say a couple of $1 million would take care of us for the rest of our lives. The twit said $250 million. So in the settlement, she's going to get half of that, 130 plus the home. So she's way ahead. So she's probably got $1 billion now. So Jamie's got 4 lives to live, and she'll be secure in all 4 of them. And we're grateful for the princess for doing such a great job with her husband Frank.
Hey Fred, do me a favor. The 4 houses that she's getting, all in California.
Well, 2 are in Malibu, yeah.
Okay, so we're talking high rent district here.
For Malibu, $1 million, $1 million, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Now, do you know whether or not she's getting the house, mortgage free, debt free? There's nothing on them. She's getting them free and clear.
Oh no, they owe money on them. They've been paying
on all these houses.
Oh yeah, they've been paying them.
All right, so we really don't know then how much she's going to be able to take, because at the end of the day, on paper, right, the house might be worth, let's say, $10 million, but if there's a $9 million mortgage.
True. All right, so maybe she's only got her $250 million, so she'll only live one life, and we feel secure. And again, Princess, we're very happy for you. And if you want to come on the show, Jamie or Frank, we'd love you. We'd love you to make.
Well, Fred, I was going to ask you if you could do me a favor on this. Could you get me your phone number since she's now single? I mean, why not? I'm single. She's single. She's not that old.
Isn't she going with? Isn't she still going with the driver? I don't. I thought.
I don't know. You're gonna have to clue me in on that one. She's got a relationship going on with somebody.
That's how it all happened. That's how the divorce thing happened. The driver for the Dodgers and her apparently had an affair. That's how the divorce thing came down.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The driver for what, the team bus or something?
I don't know where or when, but apparently he was driving her. He was driving her around, and he was driving her, and that's what happened to Jamie and Frank. And The world does turn, does it not? All right, let's get off sports because I got to talk about this because everybody's going to talk about this. And later we'll talk about decertification and the National Basketball Association, what that means to the season, I think is gone. But we'll talk about, folks, if you're joining us for the first time, JBK is an attorney, so he knows about terms like decertification and all those terms legally, so he'll answer that one a little bit later. However, I'm sure he knows terms like sexual harassment and things like that, and Herman Cain and 3 women apparently, or at least, 3 have mentioned in having problems with the guy about 13, 14 years ago. What do you think is going to happen here with Herman Cain? He keeps getting dollar upon dollar from the conservative right, even though apparently he hadn't come totally clean on the situation. Any thoughts about Herman Cain and the 3 women who say that he bothered them?
Sexual harassment was the claim du jour of the 1990s. I mean, it's still out there, and it's still obviously a very viable cause of action. But it was a very popular thing to allege in the 1990s, and I obviously practice a fair amount of employment law, and I took on my share of sexual harassment cases. I defended as well as prosecuting. Here's the thing that bothers me about the Herman Cain situation. Why now? All right. Where did these names come from? How do they, make it to the light of day? And why is it now when he's on the top of the polls? Can I just tell you what I think is a very telling situation about the way the press is treating this whole issue? Yeah. Herman Cain had an ad about 2 weeks ago where his campaign manager, this guy Mark Block, is smoking a cigarette at the very end.
Yeah, very cute. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and listen, this guy Mark Block, there's something kind of like oily, greasy about him. Right. I'm not firmly entrenched with the Cain camp or feel, even though he says the things that I agree with. I'm not necessarily sure that he's got the gravitas to be the president, let alone vice president. He might make a good cabinet official, but. So he's on, Face the Nation with Bob Schieffer last Sunday. Right. And Bob Schieffer spends about 7 minutes beating the daylights out of Herman Cain over the cigarette that appeared in that campaign ad. Right. Just going on and on and on. Well, guess what? If you want to believe the Surgeon General or whoever just gave President Obama his annual physical, for the first time since he's been president, he's now tobacco-free. Right. I never heard anybody call Barack Obama out for his smoking. But never the way Bob Schieffer did. But never the way Bob Schieffer did to Herman Cain. And what I'm trying to say is that the press in this country is very selective about what they like to go after. And the fact of the matter is, Herman Cain, not unlike Clarence Thomas, seems to be victim of a very selective posting of this issue right now at this here time. Fact of the matter is, it happened over 10 years ago. There are confidentiality agreements that were signed. He obviously vigorously denies it. And until somebody steps forward with a little more facts here, I don't think it's fair to paint him on this one. I really don't.
Well, you don't think if it was Rick Perry and the women came after Rick Perry that the media wouldn't be doing exactly the same thing? You're trying to dub it a racial thing. I don't think it's a racial thing. I think you can't argue. I don't think you can. Do you think if 3 women came out against Perry, there'd be any different in the analysis from the press?
I'll tell you what, I think that Kathleen Willey and Juanita Broderick came out as much against Bill Clinton, and it didn't provide the feeding frenzy on the Clinton presidency that this is done on the Cain campaign.
Let me tell you something. I'm
not going the racial route, by the way. I'm going the political route. I'm saying if you're conservative and you're making great traction in the polls, look out because somebody might. And I say might because I don't know what happened. And for all I know, he may have sexually harassed 3 women. I don't know. But I guess what I'm saying to you is if you're conservative and you're making traction and you're starting to get the national attention and you're starting to get some more campaign cash flowing in because you've done well in some debates or you beat down, what's his name, the guy on MSNBC, Lawrence O'Donnell, which is really what started the whole Cain, trajectory up the polls, is that he had this interview with O'Donnell where he smacked him down pretty good. Yeah. So, watch out because somebody's going to conjure up something against you like this because they're going to try to knock you off your stride. And if it came from another Republican, then pox on your house, Rick Perry, if that's where the rumor started, because, there is the 11th commandment as by Ronald Reagan, thou shalt not speak ill and throw a fellow Republican under the bus.
All right, let me throw this to you in the last few minutes before the break. So you think this woman's attorney who made the speech yesterday and gave her point of view yesterday for about 30 minutes to the media, would make all this up, get involved in something like this, and maybe lose his license to practice law if this didn't really, if in the woman's belief it didn't occur. So, I mean, you're saying the press brought it up, but here's the woman having her attorney go up in front of millions of people on national and international television. Why would he do that? He'd be caught at this point. I mean, if there wasn't something to it, and she said numerous times. So, I mean, to me, there's a lot there, and Herman's trying to hide it, and I don't think he's going to get away with it. But as an